Tom Torero podcast 24, coming at you from an undisclosed daygame location about 900 miles from London. I'll tell you why it's undisclosed another time. I'm speaking in a hushed voice because I'm in an apartment which has other people in it. I'm just renting a room. And even though this is a hushed tone, it's going to be a rant. I want to record this before I go to bed. It's quite late, but I'm feeling this good volcanic rant coming on. And I thought, rather than just scribble some notes down and write and record this another day, let's just record it now. This rant is going to be on white knights. I'm going to explain what white knights are, the characteristics of white knights, why they do what they do, and what's the solution to it if you're displaying any of these traits. Now, in my opinion, and in most true gamers' opinions, the white knight is a level below the nice guy. Okay, because I was a nice guy, a hardcore, super nice guy for many, many years. And I've done that video series on the nice guy and then becoming the nice bad boy. So I can empathize with nice guys. I understand where nice guys are coming from. And there's a very logical explanation and it can be treated. 95% of my students come from that nice guy mindset. The white knight, however, is a level, like I said, below the nice guy. Because it's often done for very sneaky reasons. So a white knight, think of that chivalrous knight on a horse with a sword and a shield. That's a man who tries to defend women, all right, believing that he can rescue them from the bad boys, from the bad guys, from the players, the guys who don't treat them with the care and the honor and respect that these angels, these princesses deserve. Okay, now, disclaimer. The white knight can either do this from a place of naivety, in that he simply doesn't understand how women work, how dating works, how mating works, how attraction works, or more often than not, it's done as a calculated move because this guy is pretending to be the guy who's going to rescue the girl on his horse, but he expects something in return, kind of a romantic reward. Yeah, he wants, as a thank you for rescuing them, he wants to date them. So it's this kind of pretense of a asexual behavior where he amps up the nice guy traits for something. He's using it as currency. And surprise, surprise, women know this. But let's first of all think about why white knights exist. I'm sure they've always existed. It's a common term now for guys who try to rescue girls on the internet. So you hear of internet white knights, but of course they exist in your place of work. They exist in clubs and bars. I've had white knights on the street interrupting my day game. A hot girl will be surrounded by not just the friend zone nice guys, but she'll be surrounded by the white knights trying to help her and save her. And this behavior, sadly, is promoted in all the Disney movies, the rom-coms, even video games, music videos. So you can't blame a naive 14, 15-year-old lad who, even though he has this inkling that it's not right, if he sees in magazines and he reads in books and he sees on TV shows and in movie theatres, he sees this is how you treat women. The nice guy, the guy who saves her from the bad boy, he gets her in the end, he marries her. So therefore it must be right. And in the video games, you save that very vulnerable woman in distress and you get to have her. You save her from all the nasty, the bad boy characters, and perhaps even on a literal horse, you save her and ride off into the sunset. So that's an explanation for why this is so prevalent in our culture in the West. There's obviously religious reasons as well. If in your religion it's taught that sex is either shameful or a super, super, super special, holy thing, then of course you would look around and see these quote-unquote players, these guys that are just having casual sex with girls and not dating them and shockingly not even marrying them. You would see these guys as the enemy. You would see what these guys are doing as deeply wrong and immoral. So just like a lot of things in religion, you would instinctively kick back. There's this, deep-seated, hardwired need to argue against it because religion runs deep, As Richard Dawkins says, it's a super powerful meme. That's an idea that's evolved and survived and replicates. Like a very strong virus, it perpetuates because it's so strong. Does it have some survival value for a human? That's a different podcast for a different day. But anyway, the white knight, super nice guy trait thing exists. And like I said, this can either be for naive reasons or as a calculated, sneaky snake seduction move. You can guess which one I'm really ranting against. Okay, this podcast is not really having a go at the naive guys. They've just got such little experience with girls. Let's say the 30, 40-year-old virgins, the guys waiting for marriage, the guys that have never dated or arranged marriages, all that kind of thing. Sure, it's not really their fault because they're living in this bubble, this Disney bubble. They don't know what the true nature of women is. But this white knight rant is really against those sneaky guys who are pretending to be the nice guy as a calculated move, expecting to get something in return. Yeah? Anyway, what might a white knight say? How do you know that you're a white knight? How do you know that it's gone beyond just being the nice guy like I used to be? Well, a white knight will see girls as very vulnerable. He'll see girls, as I said, needing to be rescued. He'll see them as flower petals, snowflakes, whatever, angels on pedestals. Pedestalization will be huge. And let's give you an example. Okay, a cock block in a bar. If you do night game, that's part and parcel of your approaches. Girls will come in or guys will come in. Let's think of the guys. I'm not talking about the big alpha guys that try and fight you, but the guys that come up and say things like, don't talk to women like that. Or they ask girls, are you okay? Oh God, I saw what that guy tried to do. That was terrible. Come with me. Or you might hear guys saying things like, she shouldn't be with him, or, he's a player. I just want to connect with girls. Again, he might be doing that from a naive place or from a sneaky place. Often the cockblock in the club is doing it from a sneaky place, thinking that the girl will say, wow, thank you for saving me from that terrible guy who was trying to drag me into the toilets, Now I'll go home with you. Let's get married. A good example of this that actually happened in the daytime was 2 or 3 years ago now. In the summer, I was with Sam Django. We were teaching a boot camp in Stockholm, in Sweden, and Stockholm is a great city for gutter game because the real fun begins in the night when the girls are drunk coming out of clubs, and Sam and I were going up and down the posh part of Stockholm, opening 2 sets, so 2 guys, 2 girls, and we'd opened these 2 lovely blondes. Everything was going well. Then a guy came into the set, and at first he was quite friendly. He gave me a hug and he said, oh, I know you from YouTube and from your website. And I thought that was nice, a little bit uncalibrated to come into a set, but I said, okay, mate, cheers. And then he pulled out his phone and he started to show the girls videos of me on YouTube, and he started to speak in Swedish, and the girls' faces dropped. They looked shocked. And later we found, another guy told us who was nearby, this guy was saying, that these guys are evil pickup artists and they're terrible, they are awful players. And then he literally put his arms around both girls and shepherded them away as if to say, come with me, I'll save you, as he walked off, hoping to obviously try and bundle them into a taxi. That's one of the few times I've had a cock block during the day, a fake white knight during the day. But it can happen. I've heard other guys talking about it happening in shopping centres, especially in countries like North Africa, Tunisia, Morocco, Egypt, in Dubai, in the Middle East, where you've got religious white knights who really do want to save girls from these evil guys trying to have sex. So it can happen during the day, but obviously 99% of the time during pickup it happens in a club. Obviously on the internet it happens a lot. In a place of work it will happen a lot. If you're seen as the bad boy, like I used to be seen when I was a teacher in the staff room, I was the bad boy, and other male teachers would sometimes try to rescue the female teachers that I was hitting on. So you get the idea that these white knights intervene, either naively or for their own good. And here's the big disclaimer that I'm sure you've already guessed. If you're any kind of a player, women know what these guys are doing. Women think these guys are cowards. Women hate this kind of white knight behavior, and they usually either A, friend zone that guy, or B, just dismiss him, usually behind his back, because instinctively women know what these guys are up to. Okay, now these guys often come across as quite feminized. They're going along with social conventions. They're trying to be politically correct. Some people call them social justice warriors, but I don't want to get into the whole political manosphere debate thing here, because my underlying point in regards to the white knight thing is that women can quite happily take care of themselves when it comes to them being on their own path to replicating their genes. They've got their agenda, they've got their schedule, they've got their clock. Women are a lot more pragmatic and tough in this respect than men. It's actually the men who are the real romantics, because romance, you could say, comes from neediness. Neediness comes from scarcity. So buying the flowers and the chocolates and writing the love songs and the poems, that's really what men do, because they're chasing the women. And if you know, quote unquote, the true nature of women's sexuality, you'll understand that women are very aware of the game. Women are born with an intuitive panache for the game. They know the moves, they know the techniques, they discuss the game. They like to give off the image that they're these like fragile angels, because that's part of the game, because that makes them behave in a more feminine fashion. But really, when it comes down to lovers and one night stands and choosing the father for their child and getting married, women are doing this in a very systematic way. I'm not calling them calculated. They're not evil. It's the man who makes the problem. Yeah, because real feminism is girls being able to say they like sex. That girls have flings, girls like passion, girls hook up, girls watch porn, girls fantasize, girls crave alpha bad boys, girls like being led, girls like being dominated, yeah? So they don't need a fucking guy on a horse with a sword and a shield, and they resent it. It's the man who creates the problems, yeah? It's the man who buys them shit. It's the man, it's a bit like parents spoiling a child and then that child at a young age being naughty. So I'm never blaming the girl. I always say, let's blame the guys, you know? As I said, buying them shit, liking their Facebook photos, taking them on holiday, pretending to be their friends, helping them out with ulterior motives. If guys overnight stopped these white knight, nice guy behaviors and were honest about their intentions, and they were manning up and they were becoming more quote-unquote alpha, women would stop behaving in the princess way that they behave. They're behaving like princesses because a large majority of men are behaving like white knights. Okay, a really good example of this was late last year. I'm sure you remember the Real Social Dynamics Julian Blanc scandal. It was so called by the media, where everything that Real Social Dynamics and most pickup instructors teach was twisted by the mainstream media and by feminists, because it's so easy to sensationalize. Right from when the game was published, it's just perfect for media companies because it's so easy to soundbite, heavily edit their own version of what's going on. It's like pouring petrol onto a barbecue. You know, it's the perfect storm for them. It gets them clicks, gets them views, sells newspapers. And of course, I'm not going to go into the feminists jumping on board. What's more interesting for me is the men that jumped on board, not to try and support the other dude saying, no, we're not really doing anything wrong here. Women love what we're doing. We're just trying to get laid. No, it was the men that said, pickup is evil and seduction is evil and it's all manipulative and wrong and dark and I would never treat women like that and this is disgusting. It was so going along with PC, social convention type talking heads. It was crazy. So you had those guys who were sticking up for women online or on radio shows or on TV shows, or even close friends of mine who are not into pickup. They don't really know the pickup community or what pickup artistry really is. They were talking about this man, Julien Blanc. And I'm a big fan of most of the RSD coaches and what RSD preach, and specifically Julian's game and what Julian's done in the past and what he's contributed, along with Tyler and Jeffy and Todd and all the rest. And at the time, I just thought this is so bad, in that, not because the media were having a go at RSD and pickup was getting a bad name, and I really wasn't even that bothered by what the feminists were doing. What I was really bothered about was these white knights coming out of the woodwork everywhere you looked. And now these weren't just guys who knew nothing about pickup, like my friends. But what was most shocking was that a lot of guys who were either coaching night game or day game up until then suddenly tried to distance themselves from pickup, and suddenly they rebranded their companies as natural, or they called themselves life coaches, or they got into chakra cleansing, or asking women how they'd like to be seduced, or using taglines about holistic medicine, or getting in touch with your feminine energy, anything to distance themselves from game, because they were afraid that the media was going to come knocking. So they stopped using pickup terminology. They claimed that pickup and game was evil and wrong. They didn't want to be part of it, that it was shallow, and that what they were doing was beyond game. But now I know a lot of these guys, a lot of these instructors, still what they were teaching was pickup. It was game techniques. They were still trying to get pussy. They were still, or I should say they are still, chasing tail. It was just they changed their marketing in order to be more PC, in order to be more white knight. Because it's like my rant against natural game. These guys know very well. They know game techniques. They know game terminology. They are pickup artists. I've always taken great delight in saying I am a pickup artist. I do pick up women. I am in the PUA world. I am trying to seduce women. I'm not doing this just to be a life coach or a confidence coach or a charisma coach. No, I started this journey to get younger, hot girls into bed, and that's a primary focus, both for me and my students and guys that listen to my stuff. Of course, there's so-called life coaching spin-offs and implications, and your life does change, and you do go on a journey, and it sorts out many other things, and you have to face many other things. Of course, I'm not denying that. I'm the one that said game is a Trojan horse. But what I've said in the past is that you can't put the cart before the horse. You have to do all the stuff with girls, go on that kind of rampage and become the player and become the bad boy before you can reach this enlightenment. That's why I called it badass Buddha. You can't put the Buddha before the badass. You have to go through the badass period, which is just what Julian or Tyler was talking about, which is what Infield show, which is what the crazy stories and the lay report show. That's the gangster part of it, the badass part of it. Of course, you can achieve other things from pickup, and I talk about flow states. I'm not denying that, but trying to hide the fact that you're trying to pick up girls, that, my friend, is being a white knight. So when other companies started doing it and instructors started doing it, it reached kind of sad, shocking levels. I don't know if you remember that quote from Boardwalk Empire. You can't be half a gangster. So you can't be half a pickup artist. You can't have one foot in one camp, i.e. I'm chasing girls, and the other foot in the other camp of I just want to connect with girls. I just want to get in touch with my feminine energy. No. You have to say, look, men are coming to me to learn how to pick up girls. All right, sure, they might want to get married, they might want a girlfriend, but like I said in my former podcast, first I teach men to get abundance, to stop the needy behaviors, to stop the nice guy behaviors. That is all triggered by scarcity. So once a guy's in abundance, he has options, he learns about the game and what women really do. He doesn't judge women for it. He doesn't call them bitches or manipulative. He accepts that game is fun. Game is a dance. So the girl already knows her half of the dance. Once the guy knows his half of the dance, he learns how to lead and escalate. Then sure, yeah, he can decide he wants to get out of it, settle down, but he's doing it from a place of strength. But he's still a gangster at heart, he's still a badass at heart, because if she walks away or something goes wrong, he can do it all over again. Pick up artistry. I love it. That's why I got into it, and that's why I still do it, yeah? So like I said, it's the nice guys, it's the white knights that cause the problems, yeah? It's these coaches that now call themselves life coaches that cause the problems. It's the guys who are not fundamentally telling women what they want, or they're not telling women what they're doing. It all comes down to the famous phrase, don't hide your dick. Tell girls what you really want. Obviously done in a calibrated way. I'm not saying go all hardcore mode 1. But it's you, my friend, who makes the friend zone. You put yourself into the friend zone. You construct it and you lock yourself in there and you throw away the key. You put yourself into that box. You put yourself into the provider box. You put yourself into the making weight box. All right, so stop thinking about how women should change their behavior around you. Start thinking, my friend, about how should you change your behavior around women. Okay, because if you just lived by the principle that the real sword you're carrying is your dick, not some cheesy sword and shield and a horse, if you just follow the mantra, don't hide your dick, of course, metaphorically, not literally, you can't go flashing, like I saw a bloke doing today by the highway, everything would be so much easier, and women would appreciate it and thank you for it. I said in my last podcast about the fourth wall elephant in the room success I've been having just by stripping away the bullshit and letting girls know what I really want. Women love the fact that you're not a white knight. Women want dark knight, yeah? Think of Dark Knight Rising. Women love the fact that you can even call out what white knights are doing, because that shows social intelligence through calibration. That means you've done this with girls before, yeah? Women love the fact that you're not just a super bad boy, but you're the nice bad boy. So sure, you can have those good traits of the quote-unquote nice guy. You know, you can listen, you can be empathic, you can have rapport, you can do nice things, you can even be the boyfriend and get married. But you're doing it after you've been the sexual guy, after you've been the player, after you've been the one trying to get in her pants. The passion has to come first, and then the connection and the relationship can happen. Like I said before, you can't do it the other way around. You can't try and pretend to be asexual and be her friend and the nice guy and connect with her and then suddenly let her know you've got a dick. It's not going to work. And even by some miracle, if you did get into a relationship in that way, it's doomed to failure, because it's always got to start with that sexual spark, that fire, yeah? And then you can get into all the other lovely connection things from a place of strength. So never forget that women don't need your horse. They don't need you to rescue them. Biologically, they can take care of themselves when it comes to this, yeah? It's you, my friend, who is probably the romantic one. It's you that's crying more than she is when a relationship ends, because women have abundance. Women are very, very rarely in scarcity. Women have options. Women can get another guy much faster than probably you can get another girl. I always tell my students that. So even if you do dump her, she can show her emotions and moan and cry a little bit, but she's got a whole air traffic control screen of orbiters just waiting. That's beta guys, the nice guys. She's going to have the white knights, but there's going to be alpha guys coming along if she goes to a club. So don't feel sorry for her. It's you that is doing all that cheesy romantic stuff because you're needy, and the neediness is caused by you being in scarcity. So when you think of your poems and your songs and your flowers and your chocolates and all those really cheesy music videos. It's men that cause this symptom. It's men that make women into princesses. The princess behavior, the gold digger behavior, that's triggered by men offering gold. The princess behavior is triggered by men pretending to be princes, knights on horses. Yeah? So, next time either you instinctively want to demonstrate white knight or nice guy behavior, or you spot another guy doing it, think, hang on, am I doing this for naive reasons? Is this really what I think women are like because I've read it in a book or seen it in a movie? Am I doing it for religious reasons? Is it something that was in my childhood? Or even worse, do I know that this is wrong? Do I know that I want to be a player, that I want to fuck these girls? Am I pretending to be the friend? Do I have ulterior motives? Is it because I'm not letting a girl know what I really want? There you go, rant over. Don't be the white knight. Don't even be the nice guy. Be the nice bad boy. And to get to the nice bad boy, you're probably going to have to go through a period like I did of being the bad boy. Kind of Julian Blanc period of just going a bit too far. Not in a dark misogynistic way, but just going too far for yourself. Going to like a fuckathon place where you reach a new low in your positivity because you're spending all your time thinking about game and chasing leads and just having sex, and you're forgetting about your friends and your family. That's not because it's bad for the girl. I'm saying it's bad for you. And you go to that place and then you swing back, hopefully not into being a swinger, but you swing back into the sweet spot of being the badass Buddha, the nice bad boy, where you know how women behave, you know how to get girls, you know how to get them to sleep with you, you know how to have relationships, but you also have other stuff going on in your life. That, my friend, is being the nice bad boy, the badass Buddha. Anyway, I'm going to finish before I go to bed with a reminder that I am very soon, in about a month's time, going to go on a 30-day round the world, west to east, if that makes sense, tour, world tour. It's entitled Below the Belt, because I'm going to lots of cities and I'm giving a 1-hour talk with a 1-hour question and answer, plus a meet and greet, beer and banter session afterwards, talking about my day game, my time as a day game coach, day game and travel, traveling around the world, highs and lows, disasters, tomfoolery, shenanigans, all that stuff. That's why it's called Below the Belt. And it's kicking off in London in the middle of July, then going to New York, Los Angeles, Sydney, Auckland, Christchurch, and Cape Town. Check out the video on my Tom Torero TV YouTube channel, where you see my route and you see the dates, and it lets you know how to book a seat, because the event is free, but you need to email me, tom@tomtorero.com, to say you're coming, and in the subject of your email put your name and the city where you'd like a seat. For example, Joe blogs Cape Town. It just makes my admin a whole lot easier. Whew, there we go. I think we've done it. Podcast 24. White Knight rant over. Ta-da.